a great day. This is exactly the kind of day that Craig would have wanted. It's a perfect venue for all of us, and on top of that, the Padres won their home opener. So, on behalf of the law firm of Higgs Fletcher Mack and the family of Craig Higgs, I'd like to welcome you all today. It's a special day for us, and it's not to be a sad day, but a celebratory day. So I'm going to do my very best in front of the judges and the lawyers that I practice to maintain my composure today. But I want to give a special welcome to Craig's family who are here today. His wife Cindy, Justice Cynthia Aaron, and the other members of the family I would like to introduce. If you have not met them, please do so before you leave tonight. Alexander, where's Alexander? Alexander, a writer from Los Angeles. Kiska, who is Executive Vice President of Focus Features, also in Los Angeles. And Cindy and Craig's son, Ben, who's a first-year law student at Stanford Law School. Welcome. Hey, welcome very much. I just want to begin by thanking all of you for being here on behalf of the firm and Craig's family. It really says a lot, a testament to the relationships that he forged, the friendships that he forged. Each of you has a special story, I'm sure, to tell a friend. And on behalf of the family, thank you very much by your attendance for recognizing Craig's success, his accomplishments, his contributions, his volunteerism, and the friendships that he's formed. I just want to take a moment of personal privilege to share my story with Craig, which of course began when I started to practice law 34 years ago, but really developed 20 years ago when I joined the firm of Higgs Fletcher Mack from McGinnis Fitzgerald, Reed Sharkey, and McIntyre. And Craig, I spent more time with him out of the office than in the office, because he and I would run together along the coast highway, the Harbor Drive, right past this, what used to be the Sternwheeler. And we would run 3 to 4 times a week as Craig was pursuing his ultimate goal, which was started by the YMCA to run 1,000 miles a year. And there was a big article as Craig passed where I noticed that he had passed 10,000 miles in 10 years and then 20,000 miles in 20 years. So he was quite a runner. And we would talk as we ran almost everything except law. And that's how we began our friendship. It evolved then into a rim-to-rim hike of the Grand Canyon. And I truly became aware of how much Craig loved the national parks. And so in your program, you might notice that there's a place for you to make contribution in Craig's honor to the National Parks Foundation. Craig enjoyed the national parks, not just the Grand Canyon, Yosemite, Grand Teton. And the climax of my relationship with Craig and the outdoors came when he and I did a 10-day backpacking trip in Lake Clark National Park with my law partners, Steve Davis and Harry Carter, and Craig and I. And I shared the tent with Craig. And 10 days in the wilderness with Craig Higgs in a tent. And when you do that with someone, talk about forging friendships, you really do develop friendships. You discover and accept, in Craig's case, his idiosyncrasies. You discover and accept his peculiar personal habits that you don't see in the office. You discover, and I'll say this as it applies to both of us, your smell, which begins 3 days into this 10-day trip. So we came back from that knowing we had a bond that would last a lifetime. In the office, I can't imagine a gentleman and a lawyer who had a better sense of humor in the office than Craig Higgs. He was also the consummate problem solver, and I think this is part of why he was so successful as a mediator. He would listen to lawyers, he would help them evaluate their cases, he would help them prepare for mediations and trial, he had a calming influence over everyone in the firm. And as my partner Corey Brown put it, he knew the right thing to say at the right time in the right way. And it's something that those of us that watched Craig, and his office was just a few doors down from me, you could see it every day. The other thing that I would observe about Craig is he truly loved the staff. And it wasn't just the lawyers. He truly loved the staff. He would ask them about their families. And this is a human touch about Craig that was so special and why he was so successful, why he was so well liked, and why all of you are here today. He would ask the staff about their families. He would find out who was playing in their soccer games, who was playing in their football games. And what was most unique, in my opinion, is he would remember that. And so he would come back to those people 2 weeks later and say to them, how was so-and-so in their soccer game? How was so-and-so in their football game? And it reminded me of something that was so Craig. His grace, his dignity. What a pleasure to have this man as part of our firm. We all know that Dutch Higgs founded our firm and started our firm. But what I remember and think all the time about Higgs Fletcher Mack, the first Higgs that's going to come to my mind is going to be Craig Higgs. And as I close my remarks, I just want to, as I said, to thank all of you for being here. I just want to thank Craig. I want to thank you for being the mentor. I want to thank you for being my friend. I want to thank you for being my backpacking companion. And thank you, most of all, for being Craig, because you made it all happen. Thank you, and I'd now like to invite our Chair Emeritus at Higgs Fletcher Mack, John Burrell, to share with you his remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody, and we're going to hear a lot of familiar continuing themes this afternoon. I first met Craig when I interviewed for an associate position at Higgs Fletcher Mack. That started what would ultimately lead to a 35-year friendship. Craig had so many friends, as we can see here today. Craig made no enemies. Very few, particularly lawyers, can have that said about them. Some of us here today were lucky enough to know Craig's father, Dutch, and now we know Craig's children. From this, we see the beautiful human qualities that run deep in the Higgs family DNA. It is these Higgs qualities, intellect, character, temperament, pleasantness, lack of bias, humor, and gentle kindness that has made Higgs Fletcher Mack an extraordinary institution for over 80 years. It is these qualities that attracted only the best human beings to our law firm. We are very proud that Higgs Fletcher Mack has grown to one of the largest and most talented San Diego law firms. We are even more proud that it retained its special Higgs culture. Craig was instrumental in making sure that our most valuable firm asset, our exemplary culture, thrives today. Craig was often consulted by firm's management, how to deal with this or that. He knew little about the business of law. He knew everything about the firm's people, our history, and our rich legacy. What were Craig's special qualities? Craig cared deeply about the lives of others. It mattered not whether the person happened to be the most profitable partner or the youngest staff member. Craig took the time to invest real personal interest in you. He had sincere curiosity. Craig wanted to know the real you. He did this by learning about your family, your outside interests, and your life objectives. Craig wanted to help fit you into the grand scheme. His interest in others included not only his friends, partners, and peers, but almost anyone that happened along his way. As we all know, Craig made friends everywhere he went. Craig truly listened. Craig would hear you out completely before you reacted. His praise would be abundant and in public. If criticism was appropriate, it was always private and usually disguised as something witty or self-deprecating. Craig was not only kind and gentle, he was extremely polished. Traveling with Craig was like attending a days-long Mr. Benjamin class Continue for the middle-aged man. Craig was my role model in how to be considerate, how to be gracious, how to dress, how to properly place an order in a restaurant. He was the politest, most polished person I've ever known. Craig was just fun to be around. Craig freely allowed the joy he experienced in life to infect others. Craig loved discovering new experiences and new places. He loved the outdoors. He loved hiking. He liked biking, swimming, and running. He loved automobiles. He loved single malt whiskey. He loved the fine things, particularly nice hotel lobbies, right, Cindy? He relaxed assembling Legos. Craig loved his family. Craig would sing praise, always in an understated way, about Cindy and her many accomplishments, about Kiska and Hollywood and Alexander and his creativity. We could not tell whether Craig was prouder of Ben being admitted to Stanford Law or joining the United States Marine Corps. Well, he was very proud of both, of course. Craig had the best sense of humor. It was lightning quick, very dry, and hilarious. It was all these exceptional human qualities, the entire package, some inherited from Dutch and Florence, some purely of Craig, that drew us all into his amazing life. It was these qualities that nurtured our relationship with him. It is these qualities that have made Higgs Fletcher Mack what it is today and what it will be tomorrow. It is these qualities that make me think about Craig, and I will think about him the rest of my life. I want to just tell two stories about Craig. We have a running group that's been together for over 25 years. It all consists of partners and former partners of Higgs Fletcher Mack. We used to run, now we waddle. We barely do that. We start off slow and then get slower. But following the run, we eat at Kono's and we have a session. And if you know Craig, you know he loved gossip. One of the funniest things I've ever experienced with Craig. And he at the end of the session, he leaned into the group and said, "You know, I'm not one to repeat gossip, so listen carefully." The other story that Craig loved to tell was about his dad, Dutch. And Dutch was known around the Higgs house as not being very handy. In fact, Craig said that the Higgs men had trouble even changing the batteries of a flashlight. So he said that one time in his adolescence, something broke in the house, the Higgs house, and Dutch asked Craig to help. Craig was delighted to help. Dutch told Craig to go get a screwdriver. Craig ran away, came back with a vodka and orange juice. That's how Craig is. That's the Dutch. That's the family is. Thank you. Thank you all. I'm here back to see.
I'd like you to now hear from our law partner, Susan Hack. Dan Broderick, a award recipient. We're very proud of her. Susan, come on up.
I'm so honored to be speaking to you all here tonight. As hard as it is for me to believe that I'm a whole-timer at Higgs Fletcher Mack, it is true. Although in my head I'm still 25, the face tells a different story along with the glasses. So I was a summer associate back in 1988, and I got an offer to come back, and I joined the firm in 1989, and I've been with Higgs Fletcher Mack ever since. But I'm not unique. If you take a look at our partnership, you will see that many of the partners at Higgs Fletcher Mack, this has been our only job. And I will tell you that that is truly remarkable for any legal institution. At Higgs, we are a family, and we're all very privileged to have worked with and know Craig. When my clerk class in 1988, we were a big clerk class back then, and we were so big that we had to be put on a different floor in the office building. And because we were so big, we were called the Higlets in the Higgs pen. And so at that point, in knowing Craig that year in '88, and then coming back in 1989, I always thought he was the cool partner, you know, and by that, and it's what John and Steve have said, he took an interest in everything about you. He wanted to know about what your kids were doing. He wanted to know about your vacations. He wanted to know about all of that. And he appreciated everyone, whether you were the guy in the flower room or the farmer making the most money. And that's what I love about it too. And so, as we all know, Craig really was the Dick Clark of lawyers. Okay? The man never aged. And so in 1994, when I was still an associate at the firm, I got an invitation to his birthday party. All right, and so I opened it up and it said Craig was turning 50. And I looked and said, Craig is 50? There's no way this guy's 50. It could have said 40 or 30 and I would have believed it. And from that day until the time that he passed, the man simply never aged. We have a tradition at Higgs Fletcher Mack that it comes out on the morning of our holiday party every year. And what it is it's a list. And it's a list of every single member of the firm. It could be up to over 200 people at a time. And what we do is we give a gift to everybody on this list as to what we hope you get for in the holiday season. And about 25 years ago, and I'm not quite sure how it happened, I started authoring this list. And so every year when it would come out, in authoring it, I always wanted to make it special, that every gift that the firm member would get would be something very special to them, not mean-spirited, but something that they would look forward to getting. And it's a lot of work, it's a labor of love, but I do it every year. And without fail, when I would get into the office that morning after the list would come out, typically I would get it on, post it on my way to the gym or what have you, and then so it would be published by the time I get into the office. There was always a voicemail from Craig, and he said, Susan, I don't know how you do it, but every year you just get it right, and everything that you say in this is just so right. And so in putting together my remarks tonight, I actually went back and looked at some of the wish lists that I had done over the past few years. And Ben actually came up a lot in some of these gifts. For example, I heard one year that you broke your leg playing football. All right. Okay. So that year, Craig got Ben's quick return to the gridiron. Okay. And then because you wanted to visit you in college, one year he got a bullet train to Claremont. Okay. So we got that. And then of course. Hashtag arbitration bad, mediation good. So Craig was at our holiday party last December, and I said, did you get a chance to take a look at the list online? And he said, no, I hadn't seen it. I said, well, Craig, this is what I gave you. Getting back to the office just in time to move out for the firm remodel, because his floor was went out in February, and he had to chuckle out of that. So I want to conclude with one last firm tradition. This was a Craig-inspired tradition, which was the Friday song. And for many, many years, every Friday, Craig would put out a voicemail out to everybody at the firm with a song to get the party started, to get your weekend going. After he passed away, my partner John Morris, right there, he put out an email about a week later and said, we're going to start a new tradition, and that new tradition is that firm members are going to be putting out the Friday song. And then, without telling me, he said, and by the way, Susan Hack is going to be the first one to do the first song. So, and it was the next day. So for the next 24 hours, there were no billables that day, by the way. Sorry, Steve. No billables that day. For the next 24 hours, I had to think about what the first song was going to be to get this new tradition started. And I landed on vintage David Bowie and the song Starman. And the lyrics were this. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come to meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He told us not to blow it because he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let the children use it, let all the children boogie. So Craig is my starman. And he's gone way too soon, but he had such a remarkable and full life. And how lucky are we all to have known him. Rest in peace.
I think it's now time to hear from Craig's family. Kiska and Alexander, Ben.
So I have the honor and curse of going first here. I think, I was initially trying to think of what I was going to say, what I could say. And there's an impulse to try to sum someone up. And I think we all know that's impossible, especially for a person like my dad. So what I will do is tell you about one very unique, specific quality that he had, which was that he was unselfish to a annoying point. And I think everyone knows what I mean by that. But basically, for example, he would go out of his way, no matter what, to make everyone feel like they were the only person in the room. I think some of the speakers have spoken to that point. And even, towards the end, his primary concern was how comfortable we all were with what was happening. He would say, "Oh, don't mind me." I think at this point, you get to be a little selfish. I think at this point, you can make us uncomfortable for a little bit, but even so, he wasn't having much of that. And one example of that I think I inherited was when whenever we were going anywhere in public, my dad would always stop and offer to take a family's photo. The family was trying to show a photo. He wouldn't wait for someone to ask. He would go up and aggressively try to take families' photos. And I noticed more than a few concerned looks on a few occasions. But and again, as nice and as public-minded as that was for everyone around, I think for my mom and I know at least we can say it was a bit annoying. We were trying to get somewhere. We were trying to come on, we got a place to be, but it was never something that we would stop doing. And I noticed myself starting to do that a few years ago. I had this impulse pulling me. This family's trying to take a selfie. They're doing a bad job. and go back there. So I guess just to conclude on that note, there's a lot of people who don't want to turn into their parents, and at least in this specific way, I think I can say I'm proud to see if I'm turning into my dad in any way at all. So thank you very much.
So similar to what Ben was saying, when I've been talking to my friends since he passed, the ones who never had the privilege of meeting him, what I've been saying is that we were out somewhere. It seemed like somebody always recognized him, somebody always came up to him, or he would recognize somebody, a colleague, somebody he worked with, or an old friend. It seemed like he knew everyone in San Diego. And it was like, I was saying to them, it was like being with a cool kid on campus. It was, they always seemed happy to see him, he always seemed happy to see them. And part of that had to do with his work at the firm, part of it had to do with being a lifelong San Diegan. He lived, as you know, here all his life. He didn't go far for college. He got to travel the world throughout his life, but I think he loved California best. He was California born and bred. He loved the beach, he loved the mountains, he loved, as people have mentioned, hiking the national parks. And I think he passed that appreciation on to the three of us, definitely. And for me especially, it was mentioned the Friday evening music. My memory of him, some of my best memories are just those drives together with him and all the music he would put on. Music of his generation, which became my favorite music, the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones and all that, which is still so important to me, and now will be part of my memories of him. So I also wanted to add that towards the end, he said a lot to us. They had a very full and happy life, and I think everyone here was really part of that. So I want to thank you all for making his life better.
Start to become obsessed about how you're like them, how you're not like them, and looking for ways in how you're turning into your father or your mother. And it's amazing to hear all of you speak about him at the firm, because those are all qualities that I hope I can only aspire to. And actually, when he was dying, I really wanted to ask him a few questions that just never been answered. And one of them was, how are you most like your father and your mother? And he only got to the father part, but he said, I think Dad and I both really believe in the best in people and never thought that anyone had any bad intentions. I thought, God, I did not inherit that at all. But now I aspire to have that. And then, Susan, towards your story, when he was in the hospital, the nurse came in and said, you're 74? You don't look a day over 50, oh my God! And he just did that Craig Higgs smile. And I tried to get in on it, and I said, well, I'm 39, I'm almost 40. And she was like, yeah. That was another thing, not quite inherited that forever youthfulness. But on the way over here, I was saying I did a complete Craig Higgs patrol where I wagged my forefinger at someone who cut me off. He called himself the CHP, where he would lecture anyone who was driving poorly. They couldn't hear him, but he could tell them what he thought anyway. Sorry. I was just saying he would lecture people in the car, even if they couldn't hear. What I would love to ask you guys, and I haven't seen many of you since I was 6 or 7. I don't think I've been on this island since the Blackstone Ball of 1983. He was also a cipher in a lot of ways. So while he cared so deeply about so many people, we were talking about this earlier, he never really gave us like direct advice or told us what to do in a very interesting way that I will be honest, at times I resented throughout my life, but now I think was so, it made me who I am today, which I guess is not a person who trusts in people. But no, I mean, he really wasn't, he was the opposite of a helicopter father. He was gracious and he was courtly and he was folksy at times. We were that we all also inherited the music because that's something we're from 1906 and no one knows why. But I would love to get everybody's stories at your leisure, anything small or big. I'll give, Cynthia has my email and Bill has my email. If there's anything that sort of paints a picture you guys want to memorialize anytime in the next year or so, we would so appreciate it. Alexander says he used to be email, so I'll just tell him the highlights. But I want to thank all of you on behalf of the whole family and Cindy. Thank you for coming. And thank you for celebrating his life. And hopefully now we can have some fun, right? Or are there more speeches?
Thank you, Ben, Alexander, Kiska. So I'd now like to invite our newest U.S. Attorney from the Southern District of California to join us in to lead us in a celebrity toast to Craig. So if you can get your glasses, please.
Before you get your glasses, I would just like to say a few words and sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank Cindy for asking me to participate in this event today. My relationship with Craig Higgs was in 3 stages. Number 1, I was a significant consumer of his mediation services. Sorry, Judge. But for at least 6 or 7 cases, I took clients to Craig to settle cases. And he was always the same. Well prepared, read everything we'd ever submitted, incredibly confident that we would settle the case, incredibly relaxed. There was never any tension in the room when he was there. And then, whenever things did get heated, he would use his unbelievable sense of humor to defuse the situation. He was a master at using his great sense of humor. In all 7 cases I took to him, we eventually settled. We didn't sometimes on the day, but he was relentless in following us up on the next few days and weeks to get us to settle. He was terrific. The second stage of my relationship with Craig was with Cynthia and my wife Herman. The 4 of us would go to dinner at least twice a year, and we would end up just laughing. We would have the most unbelievable great times. And Craig and I would enter into a mascot competition. When we would name a university, and he would say the mascot, or if he didn't, then I would. And we went back and forth and back and forth. And I finally got him on Oglethorpe University, which is outside of Atlanta. Their mascot is the Stormy Petrel. And he looked at me and said, "That is so unfair." The third stage of my relationship was during the last 3 to 4 months of his life. I went to visit him and at the rehabilitation center up in La Jolla. And I ended up telling him a joke. He looked at me and he said, "That's a 3. And I said, "On a scale of what?" He said, "On a scale of 5. He said, "Why don't you try a little harder?" So every day for the next 3, I subscribed to a joke service. And he would ask me, "Where are you getting these?" And I said, "I'm making them up, Craig." And I would tell him a joke, and these conversations sometimes only lasted 50 seconds or so. I would tell him a joke, and he'd rate it 1 to 5. And I kept all the 5s, and I was looking at them this morning. I can't tell them here because the Department of Justice would investigate me. But, and we spoke right up to the end. And he would always ask me, "What are you here from Washington?" Because this was the time when I was waiting to be confirmed. And he knew that I had cancer and was a survivor, and we sometimes talk about the disease. But he would always ask me, "What are you here from Washington? What's new?" And that was Craig. And I was thinking this morning, if there's one word that I can use to describe him, it's noble. The definition of noble is a person of high moral or mental character or excellence. And he was all 3. He was all 3. So let's take your glass, please. And I'd like to propose a toast to Craig Higgs, a noble man, loved by many, respected by all, never to be forgotten.
So if Craig were here, he'd say, enough with the speeches, enjoy yourselves, have a great time. Thank you again for coming, and thank you again.
Thank you, Steve. Well done.
Thank you. Good job. Those were really funny jokes. You must have had a hard time choosing those.